Victoria Ash stands as one of the most prominent and influential kindred active tonight. Embraced in the 17th century CE when she was still known as Victorine de Perpignan, she came from poverty, worked as a camp follower for the French army, and drew little regard but for her beauty and stunning singing voice. Her sire, Maximilian, recognized her true talents of diplomacy, etiquette, and strategy, embracing her for them and for the reasons the mortal soldiers adored her. Combined with the devotion Victoria draws from Kindred due to her charisma and apparently benevolent personality, she is remarkable for her steady success in rising the ladder of the Camarilla. Most recently, she was selected by the Justicars of the Camarilla to seal the Vermilion wedding agreement with Tigurius of the Ashira. The kind bend over backwards to serve her every whim. Her clan adores her for her natural talent and wit, and our sect points her out as everything other kindred should aspire to be. One wonders if Tigurius knows what is awaiting him. Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our World of Darkness and another episode of Metaplot Monday. And I'm excited about this one because this is the last lore sheet in the Camarilla book for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. We get to move on to something else. We're going to be doing the Anarch book next, but Victoria Ash. Victoria Ash is the Toreador. She is the one that most people think about when they think about how the Toreador should be, how they should be played, especially if they are wanting to play a Toreador that is more than meets the eye, because she comes out as the beautiful, talented Toreador, the artist, the art collector, the critic, and the political up-and-comer. But in reality, she has so many talents that have to deal with espionage and getting what she wants that she really is one of the more talented and powerful kindred in the Camarilla, and she was almost Prince of New York. If you follow the storyline that happened in the clan books and the novels, because she has such a very interesting psychosis when it comes to paranoia of the antediluvians. She opted to not, which ended up making it so that Celebros the Nosferatu ended up getting the job instead, for a time at least. And it really was like the one thing that she was wanted. She was maneuvering herself to become the Prince of Atlanta, and ended up getting put into the position where she would be Prince of New York instead. And it was so insanity. She believes that she is a puppet of the antediluvian, much like other kindred would be puppets of the antediluvians. And her way of handling that is to set up this overcomplicated source of randomization of how she is going to do even the simplest things, from what dress she wears to what car she drives to who she chooses as a ghoul, is all decided simple on random occurrences in her own way of her own version of divination, to handle certain things. So Victoria is just a very interesting character. Let's go ahead and see what her lore sheet has to offer those people who choose to take it. Investing one trait gets you Ashen Kiss. At some point you have danced, kissed, or even slept with Victoria Ash. This does not make you a rarity, but it does make you special. Victoria has a perfect memory for faces and intimate encounters going back centuries. Some suspect it's how she clings to her humanity. Difficulties of social roles involving Victoria Ash or someone connected to her is reduced by one. So, you are one of the many, the proud, the lovers of Victoria Ash, and it's kind of interesting. I like the fact that it doesn't go too high. Like, it's not like, oh, she slept with you once and therefore she's willing to do anything for you and do favors. But she is down a social trait, or you are up a social trait, I should say, when dealing with her. So that is that's interesting. And it also shows that you're at least not a spurned lover of Victoria Ash. Investing 2 traits into this lore sheet gets you Vermilion Invitation. Maybe you were a guest at the Vermilion wedding, or you just know one of the attendees well enough to describe what took place. This enables you to recognize those who attended the wedding, their function, and where they stood on the matter of the union between the sex. Once per story, you can use this information to blackmail, spin tail, or relate to other attendees of this tense meeting in a familiar way, gaining a 3 dice bonus to a social test, provided you can come up with a plausible explanation. So, the Vermilion wedding. You were either there or you at least have talked in depth with someone who was. Being able to gain information on people. And that's actually kind of interesting because it does talk about being able to blackmail and spread rumors and things like that, which is definitely Vampire the Masquerade centered activities. But the fact that simply because somebody was there, this is a highly controversial event. This is 2 world organizations that have similar ideals but different practices coming together in a union between two individuals of their groups. And the fact that it's very similar to the way that in the old days there used to be a exchange of hostages type of situation. To end a war, they would give up members of their community to the other community as a sign of faith. And that seems to be what they're doing here, which is why Victoria was chosen to marry Tigurius. Investing 3 trait gets you what makes them tick. Victoria Ash is an expert in reading people. She knows how to get to the most sensitive secrets and exploit them, and has taught you a few tricks. You gain 2 extra dice in insight when scrutinizing a target for their vulnerabilities. This is neat because it talks about how you have been trained in insight by Victoria Ash. That is so interesting. And since she's been everywhere, she was a member of the Chicago elite. She was a member of the Atlanta elite. She got entangled in New York. If there's a big city, Victoria has had her influence in there in some fashion. And it doesn't really limit you to much when it comes to writing out a character history, except for saying that for some reason you were entangled in her activities and she brought you on as a protege. That is pretty cool as itself, just knowing Victoria Ash in a personal way. Investing 4 traits gets you celebrity affectation. Emulating the stories of Victoria Ash, you too have access to a well-stocked tour bus to allow ease of transit between domains, and a small crew of roadies. Whether you masquerade as a singer, magician, actor, or any other form of entertainer is up to you. This is equivalent to holding 2 dots of Haven, a mobile home, and 2 dots in herd or retainers for your roadies. This is, oh my god. I have such a hard time seeing Toreador specifically take this, but this isn't a Toreador specific lore sheet. You don't have to be a Toreador. But the idea of somebody traveling from place to place on like a sunproof tour bus and having a group of individuals who help keep things moving for you as roadies is just such an interesting thing. I am so adverse to the concept of vampires embracing fame. Either a vampire embracing someone who is famous or a vampire going after fame. I would not have a problem with people taking this in my game, but the prince of the city would be totally just dead set on ruining it for them. I'm pretty sure that in my games, I think this would come with a flaw of the prince just wanting to ruin your success. Maybe not want to hurt you, but hurt your chances at becoming famous because it's so dangerous to be known. Investing 5 traits gets you patron, lover, companion. You occupy an important place in Victoria's heart. Once per chronicle, she will move heaven and earth to protect you. potentially cashing in on the goodwill she carries with the Camarilla to do so if your crimes are egregious. For an entire session, she counts as a 5-dot mala and provides you 3 dots of status. That's pretty big. Having somebody who's that important to the Camarilla want to keep you safe and comfortable is something that really does make a lot of difference, because status is everything. Someone else might end up taking the brunt of punishment when it comes to that kind of thing, but Victoria Ash is known to pretty much get away with anything she needs. It's not the best thing for her most of the time, but she does tend to have that ability when it comes to dealing with NPCs specifically. With Victoria Ash, we get this very interesting mix of lover, teacher, companion thing. She, for some reason, has some kind of liking of you, and having that for your character cannot be a bad thing, considering everything that you're doing. Perhaps you weaseled your way into the Vermilion wedding as a Lasombra. Can you consider that being a Lasombra and having this kind of thing would really help you bypass some of the little laws and curiosities that they've put in, so that the Lasombra kind of have a hard time in the Camarilla. Tzimisce, I don't see Victoria Ash helping the Tzimisce out, because I understand that her and her encounter with Vikos that she had back during the fall of Atlanta really did put a bad taste in her mouth when it came to that. They really just I know she doesn't really feel as comfortable with that. The strange thing is she actually does see Vikos and the Tzimisce who tortured her for quite a few nights as a lover in a fashion. I'm not really sure why. I think it's because she utilized her wiles, her womanly wiles, to seduce her torturer in a fashion. I think it really does show true to who she is when it comes to what her viewpoints are when it comes to Kindred. So there are many ways you could put this on your sheet. I'm very interested, as always, in knowing if you guys have used the Victoria Ash lore sheet, and to what avail. What have you done with it? Storytellers, have you had any very interesting occurrences due to players taking this kind of thing? I am Voivode Maquette. This is our World of Darkness, and this has been another episode of Metaplot Monday, where we have just gone through all of the different things that the Victoria Ash lore sheet can do for your game. Good evening.